welcome back to the Chesnoid Gaming channel. I don't mean to cause alarm, but it's happening. Career mode pitch notes are out and big changes are arriving for career mode in the new FIFA. FIFA 20 career mode is going to have a number of new additions and we will run through them here today. There's a link in the description to the pitch notes article if you'd like to have a read of it yourself. I've got it open in front of me here and we're going to go through it together and have a look and see what you can expect to see in FIFA 20 career mode. A number, as we mentioned, of new additions are on the way. In the background, I'll have some of the screenshots from the article whilst I talk you through. Do feel free to drop the video a like if you're looking forward to FIFA 20. Do make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're looking forward to FIFA 20. We'll be starting with a career mode series from day one of early access on Xbox. So hopefully you guys will stick around long enough to see that. Do make sure you follow me on Twitter, link in the description down below as well. I'll be having some back and forth with you guys in the comments down below and over on social media as well. So it's vital that you follow me there, but I have it open in front of me. So at times I will address the camera, at times I will address what's in front of me. Hey FIFA fans! Oh, career mode feedback from the community. We've heard the feedback coming from our players in the past years and we wanted to ensure that FIFA 20 will mark an important milestone, not only for FIFA in general, but especially for career mode fans. That's the line we wanted to hear. Far too long has Ultimate Team taken the limelight. Career mode is having somewhat of a resurgence this year. We have 5 or 6 different things to run through. Some of them are purely cosmetic. Some of them are deep-rooted changes to the way that we will play the mode. We'll start with one of those deep-rooted ways that we will change the way that we interact with the world of career mode. They've introduced press conferences and player conversations. In previous iterations, press conferences are literally you click to praise or click to be critical of your team. No more full-on interviews with journalists with cutscenes coming for press conferences. Then, as you will be able to see from the article, I'm going to read small excerpts at times. As we just mentioned, our main drive is adding highly relevant features that would represent an important step forward for career mode and especially manager career, which is obviously where my channel is focused. This year, the new feature lineup is represented by press conferences, player conversations, and all of the intricate tools and logic sitting behind those features. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to ensure that the press conferences that we go to are relevant to our save, either what's going on in the background of the save, as in where we are in the league, that sort of thing, or what's happened in the game we've just played, or even pre-match stuff, what we might be expecting for the game that we're about to play. Their vision was to breathe new life into the manager career experience by leveraging the huge amounts of data that this playing mode generates, which it does. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes with stat tracking, etc. Stuff that we would like to be able to see more of as the user, similar to how you see it in Football Manager. We're not quite at that stage yet, but there's going to be a variation of ever-changing stories that would surface to our players through pre- and post-match press conferences and player conversations. The player conversations side of things is going to be similar to the email system that we've currently got, but you have many, many more ways in which to deal with the player conversations that you have. It's going to be kind of like a WhatsApp type thing, I'm led to believe. So we shall wait and see what that looks like in-game. And you can talk to players about any variety of things. Their happiness with regards to their playing time, their happiness with regards to the state of the club in general, with how you're performing in the league, their contract, and also if you're playing them out of position or not. Say you've got a guy that plays at striker and you're playing him in central midfield or at cam or out wide, that might affect their morale and they'll approach you to talk about it. And player morale is going to be also heavily changed. We'll get to that in a moment. The new tools developed in-house by the career team enabled their producers to design and leverage the large amount of data created an enormous variety of storylines that are deeply rooted in the player's experience and your way of playing. This means that the experience of each match will be treated differently by the journalists and will always feel authentic and dynamic, depending highly on the outcome, goal scored, opponent, time of the season, or stage of competition, and more. So as we mentioned, pre and post-match interviews where you will be asked questions about the game you're about to play, the game you've just played, the situation of the club in general, where you are in that competition. All things that are going to make each save more unique to that save. It won't feel like you're just playing the same thing again and again and again. Everything will feel more unique to that specific save that you're currently engaged in, which is vital for user engagement and to make you feel involved in the world of that particular save. And will hopefully help you guys feel more attached and more engrossed in saves that we do as content creators. You'll feel more of an attachment to that specific save rather than being like, oh, well, I could just watch this one or that one or play my own and get the same experience. It's going to be different for each individual save, which is what we've been crying out for, a little bit of variation, a little bit of difference between what we're playing. Not only will we have those pre and post match interviews, as we mentioned a moment ago, there's also a new feature being built upon with regards to player conversations. You have a one-on-one conversation with them via a messaging app style mechanic, but not only is it just talking to the player in a more in-depth way than previously we could, they will have long-lasting repercussions depending on how you interact with that player. If you elicit a positive reaction from them, then you'll see a boost in their stats. If you elicit a negative reaction from them, you may see a decrease in their stats for 1 to 2 weeks. It's going to vary depending on where they sit on the morale scale. Now, the devs have said to us in the Game Changer Discord, we were very fortunate enough to have a bit of a Q&A with a couple of the Karimo devs a day before this pitch notes has gone live, and they've said that the morale is split into 5 categories: very happy, happy, content, sad, and very sad. And obviously the stats will be affected depending on whereabouts in that spectrum the player sits with their morale. They've used a ratio of numbers from +8, +5, +3, +2, and +1, and then obviously the negative versions of those as well, so -8, -5, -3, -2, -1, depending on where they sit in that spectrum of morale. Now, it's not going to affect every single stat. It will depend on their position, so a defender won't see their finishing drastically go up or drastically go down. Some of the shooting stats might be affected, but mainly a defender will see their defensive stats affected, and similarly on the flip side, an attacker would see mainly their attacking stats affected as opposed to their tackling, etc. So you are going to have to make sure that you speak to your players in a way that will try and keep them on board. You might be able to manipulate it slightly if you've got a player that you're not playing and don't really have any intention on playing. You might be able to try and keep them sweet by saying the right things in a player one-on-one conversation. However, if you do that too often and they still don't get the game time, or you still don't play them in the right position, or the team fails to perform and you don't offer them a new contract, then that morale is still going to continue to drop, and then you'll be really in a sticky situation with regards to whether to keep that player or sell that player. So morale is going to have a massive impact in not only how happy your players are, but how good your players are and how good they are over a period of time. If you've got players sat in very high morale, they're all going to have presumably some form of boost, and as such, high morale, higher stats, better performances, better results, you move on up together. On the flip side, lower morale, lower stats, worse form, down the table you tumble. It's really going to be crucial to keep your players happy and on board with what's going on at the club. And not only will player stats be affected by the morale that they have, finally, there is dynamic player potential. No longer will you sign a player, have him sit in your reserves at 58 rated and play 0 games and end up 85 rated by the end of the save. For players to grow, to reach their potential, they will have to play, and their potential will change depending on how they play and where you play them. This is crucial in a number of different areas. A, it updates season upon season. So if you have a young player that is say you're a Premier League side, but you have a breakthrough youngster that kind of has stats that would be effective in game. They're 65 rated. They score 15, 20 goals in a season. Prior to that season, their potential may have been 72. After that season, their potential might go up to the late 70s because they've had a really good year. But you will have to continue to build upon that season upon season because, again, if they then don't play the next season or aren't as effective next season, their potential might drop slightly because their form isn't as good. So you are going to have to make sure that you rotate your squad to ensure that everybody gets game time. Because if players don't play, their potential growth is going to drop. Crucially, it does have an impact with the aging players as well. Say you've got a 32, 33-year-old player. They're playing every game, playing really well every game. It will delay the decline of their stats. Their potential will increase, meaning that the scenario we've seen in previous years where players get to 30, 31 and stats just fall away, regardless of what they're doing in game, that's now different. If you have a John Terry, an Andrea Pirlo, someone like that that's playing at the top of their game in their early 30s, mid-30s, if you take Pirlo for example, then you'll be able to kind of stave off the negative decline in their stats, especially if you're able to keep their morale high as well. You get not only the stats stop declining, but you might be able to boost them too. So morale linked with dynamic player potential is going to have a massive impact on how you play and who you play and who you buy as well. It is only affected on your squad, so other players will grow on a set potential for other teams, but of course if you then buy that player into your team, then their dynamic player potential will take effect. So someone might grow from 70 to 85 for someone else, you bring them to you, and their potential will change because they're now affected by their dynamic player potential. So whilst there might be someone that looks like they're going to go on a great trajectory in the save, you might be like, he's growing well, he's in form, I'm going to bring him in. You're going to have to make sure that you continue to perform with that player, otherwise they won't be as good as you hope they might be, which is going to be really, really intriguing, and again, offers up a different experience in every single save and will open up the opportunity to sign a wider range of players with your transfers. No longer will you only sign the same 5 or 6 players per position because they're the only ones that grow. You can grow anyone you like, and with the morale boost as well, it's really going to have a massive impact, and you might have the option of 50 players to sign in a position rather than just 5 or 6. You're going to see so many more unique individual saves from your own experiences on YouTube, from content creators on stream, from myself on Mixer as well. It's going to really add a massive change to the way that we play the game. Press conferences, player conversations, and the morale and dynamic player potential are the 4 main mechanical changes to the game mode this year. All will have a big impact on how we play and how we go through each individual save. Not only that though, there are cosmetic changes as well. Previously, in other years, we tended to only really get cosmetic changes. They've not only added the new features, but they've also done what they would usually do as well, and more. So obviously the past couple of years we've had set managers. You can now fully customize your manager to your own specifications, not only right at the beginning of a save, but throughout the save as well. And of course you will see your individual customized manager in the press conference cutscenes as well. You can change their clothes and obviously their facial appearance as well, and your manager avatar will change, or you can change, sorry, your manager avatar at any point throughout the course of a save. So we've been asking for that, they've listened, they've given it to us, and have a wide variety of clothing items and accessories at launch, and they will, I would imagine, add to that throughout the course of the year. So these will range from the usual formal clothing pieces and shoes to more casual and smart casual options, presumably kind of taking what they had from the journey and bringing that across to your manager customization. You never know, you might be able to stand on the touchlines in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and sandals. I've no idea, but they do say that there will be a deep range of items that we can choose for our manager, so that's fantastic. I'll be able to try and create me as you would do with a My Player when you try and create yourself. So you can now have that as your manager. The next step for me personally would be to bring back something that they haven't had it at all with the Frostbite engine. They had it with the Ignite engine, if you remember. You could have your game face for your My Player. I'd love to see that come back for future iterations of FIFA. So you upload a picture to the website, it scans it in, and then you have it in game. My original My Players in FIFA 14 and 15 had that, and it looked like me. And subsequent My Players didn't so much on Frostbite. I'd love to see that back, but that's purely just what I'd like to see in that arena. It's obviously a great first step to now be able to customize our managers as much as we would like to, outside of uploading a game face. Also, there are live news screenshots where obviously we have the news in FIFA already, but it's purely just generated images, randomly generated images, or stock images just attached to a news article. Now, you will see screenshots from the games that you've just played that give a visual representation of what the article is talking about. So, if the article is talking about such and such player's performance and how they scored a good goal, you'll see a screenshot of that goal being scored in the news article. It's not a massive change, but it's a nice little tweak to give you more involvement in that save. You will notice that more so than you would have done, like you might have just completely disregarded something that you will have seen on a news article in previous iterations. Now you might be like, I remember scoring that goal, that was a banger, and you'll see it on the news article itself. Also, last year with the introduction of the Champions League and Europa League, we saw the UI change theme with regards the main menus when you reach the Champions League or Europa League game. That is still there, and they've built on that as well. So with the Premier League, Bundesliga, Liga, La Liga and MLS, you will also now see different themes for those specific competitions as well. So at FIFA 20, the first series I'm going to do on FIFA 20 is with Chelsea. So we will have a Premier League themed menu, which is great. Again, adds more involvement and lets you have more of a connection with the save and the feel of where you are in the world. If you're managing in Germany, you don't want it to feel like you're managing anywhere. You want it to feel like you're managing in Germany. And of course, with the addition of the broadcast packages that are already in the game, that just adds to that. To add one final part to the visual changes, obviously previously when negotiating with transfers and contracts, etc., you've always been in the same office. There will now be 2 new environments for us to negotiate those things: a rooftop lounge and a restaurant. Obviously, not everybody signs a contract in the manager's office. Not all transfers are decided on the sofas in a manager's office. Stuff happens all around the world in all environments and all scenarios. We now have 3: the manager's office, the rooftop lounge and the restaurant. So that's just going to add a little bit more variety on that side of things. Not only have we had all of these new additions, but vitally, there have been bug fixes as well and balancing changes. So there are going to be a number of alterations to things that we've seen be an issue in previous FIFAs. You will be able to turn off international management if you don't want to do it. No longer will you sit there, as you've seen me do multiple times throughout the course of a save, be like, no, I don't want the Bolivian international manager's job, thank you. Well, you can turn it off. So guess what I'm going to be doing when I start a save? It will be something you'll have to decide upon at the beginning of a save, because I don't believe you'll be able to turn it back on again once you're into the save. But if you think you might want international management, leave it on. If you know you definitely don't, you can turn it off and not get bugged by it at all. You might consider the international managers toggle an ease of life change, so to speak, that just smoothens out your experience. Well, they've also added in an option in the player actions pop-up to add a player to the shortlist and then immediately go to the transfer hub with that player, rather than having to go onto their profile, add them to the transfer hub, back out, go across the menu, then into the next sub-menu, then to the transfer hub. You just ease of life to make things a lot quicker and a lot smoother with your experience. You're not wasting time going in and out of menus. You can just bounce from where you want to go to where you want to go in as quick a time as possible. I've also made changes to the youth side of things as well. They've fixed certain issues with players being the wrong ethnicity for the country that they're coming from. For example, you'd scout Spain on FIFA 19 and see a number of Oriental players. Now, you scout Spain, you'll get players that look traditionally Spanish, and if you scout the Oriental countries, you'll get players that look traditionally Oriental, if you know where I'm coming from. So players will look more traditionally how they should from the area that you're scouting them with regards to the youth potential. Not only will those youth potential players look the way that they should, they'll have the right names as well, and they've also increased the range of names that players can have, so you won't have 5 players with the same surname. Well, just have 3 players with the same surname, but it's still an improvement. And also, those youth players will have redistributed weights for player growth between physical, mental, and skill attributes to allow for more physical growth. We've seen that in all of the saves that we've done this year on FIFA 19, where technical stats will grow to 99 when they still have absolutely dead physical stats, and it really affects how usable they are in game. There will now be a more even distribution of growth in stats across a player's attributes, which is another important change to the way that you will be able to use a youth, and will mean that they are a lot more usable a lot more of the time. They've also improved the algorithm that the AI uses to pick their starting 11. So you've seen me manually change the starting 11 of some teams on FIFA 19 to ensure that teams don't play a youth team in an important league or cup fixture. Not only will they now start selecting a stronger 11, they also will start their best players more regularly. So obviously we've seen scenarios where a 92 rated goalkeeper, David De Gea, will have 8 games played, and a 71 rated player, Dean Henderson, will have 30 games played in the league. That won't happen anymore in theory. We'll wait and see in practice, but in theory, the higher rated players should play the majority of the time, if not all the time. So that's a massive change, and something that takes the weight off us as content creators as well, and you guys as users having to go in and make sure that you're playing the right team, and you come up with a promoted team, and you're not just going to walk all over the big teams, and the little teams then become the harder games, because the bigger teams are going to play their stronger sides. Not only will those changes have a massive effect on the game that you're playing, you'll also be able to play more games. We had 4 save slots only on FIFA 19. Next year we're up to 8. So they've doubled the amount of saves you can have ongoing at any particular moment in time, which I know is a big thing that you guys made a big fuss about at the beginning of the year. So they've listened, they've addressed that. We now have 8 options of different saves to run concurrently throughout the course of your career mode year. In addition, with those ease of life changes, we should, in theory, see less fixture congestion in the calendar as well. Last year, they made one change. Obviously, the FA Cup final and the final day of the Premier League season ended up coming a day after each other. They changed that as a patch throughout the course of the year, but we still had a number of fixture congestion issues throughout the course of every season ever. Hopefully, we should see a lot less of that this year. They're making a number of changes to a number of different competitions, not only the English competitions where I've seen the main issues, where obviously you have 46 games in the Football League as opposed to the 38 in the Premier League, and then obviously you throw in the latter stages of the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and European football if you're still involved in that as well in the Premier League, and it becomes an absolute cluster at some point towards the latter stages of the season. Hopefully they've been able to fix that. They've also slightly altered the authentic schedule of the Championship by pushing its completion to a later date. So rather than the Championship ending at the end of April, first week of May, it should run longer, therefore meaning that there's more space to fit fixtures in. They've also added the new format of the Spanish Supercup, which is taking effect in real life. Also, there'll be the addition of the 4th substitute in extra time in the competitions that allow that in real life. That will be reflected in game as well. Not all extra time, only the ones that in real life allow that ruling. So I think as a general consensus, it's really positive times for career mode on FIFA 20, and if they can build yet further on that in 21, then I think the future is bright for career mode. We've been stale for a good 2 years now, and it's been a real struggle for a number of us career mode YouTubers to be able to continue to keep our channels alive. Obviously, a number of other guys who have gone down the experiment route. I've kind of stuck to my roots, so to speak, different spelling, and stayed with your bog standard generic career mode, and it's what I feel I'm best at producing, so that's what I felt I was best at continuing to put out. The experiment side of things has never been my forte. I'm more than happy to join in with a collaboration video here and there with other guys with their series, etc., like the speed rebuild for Jared, or career mode showdown with Jake, as we saw earlier on in the year, B4 Lancer. So hopefully we'll see more collaborations like that in FIFA 20 as well between YouTubers, and we'll try and kind of give each other a bit of a lift up. And obviously, as we progress further through, hopefully with these changes to the core career mode, we'll see the core career mode experience for you guys and on YouTube be more popular, and we might see a flooding of people back into the scene, which would be fantastic. So do drop the video a like if you're looking forward to FIFA 20. Let me know your feedback in the comment section down below and on Twitter. I'll be sure to be in the comment section and replying to a number of you on Twitter as well. And let's keep our fingers crossed that this all works really well. It's great in theory, but we need to see it in practice. But after not having any faith a couple of months ago, they're winning me round. So we'll wait and see. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to it. FIFA 20 Chelsea career mode will be the first one that I do on my channel. But there will be a Sunderland career mode video back tomorrow. This obviously is taking the place of the Sunderland career mode today, rather understandably. But I will see you next time.